Wealth Creation Investing's Friday market wrap-up. Matthew Buckley, the Chief Investment Strategist here at WCI, and kind of the flopping around Wallow week continues into Friday. Yesterday we had about a 3-hour outage on the NASDAQ, and of course anything on Wall Street, nobody's responsible, somebody else is. So now the finger pointing's already starting between ARCA and the NASDAQ, and it just cracks me up. But it shows the fragility of the system that we're trading in, folks. We got high-frequency trading algorithms and computers just zipping off trades. We have firms that pay millions upon millions of dollars to lease or buy space, right next to the exchanges so that their orders are executed a half a terasecond ahead of somebody else's. If you think this is a level playing field for mom and pop investor versus high frequency trading algorithms, you're completely wrong. And the outage of the NASDAQ just kind of proves how dependent we are on technology and what an absolute train wreck it is when it goes down. I saw retired General Dempsey the other day or yesterday talking about how this country is just completely unprepared for an EMP attack, electromagnetic pulse, and not a hard type of weapon to build. And I guarantee you there's dudes in caves or in windowless laboratories somewhere building those things. You light off one of those in New York City and everything goes down, from the exchanges to banks to cell phones to potentially buses or the subway. So just how dependent on technology we've become more and more apparent every day, and we don't do anything about it. Nothing will happen as a result of this, and if it does, it'll be 5 years down the road when the SEC announces, well, here's what we're going to require exchanges to do. So know that this type of stuff happens, and know that's why you should have hedges in your portfolio, disaster hedges or insurance against these type of events, because they're coming a lot more frequent. And we talked about this the other day with what happened over in Syria with the chemical weapons attack. Quote unquote by the government. I think it was by the rebels. And either way, whether it's the government or the rebels using chemical weapons, that should scare the hell out of you, because they're going to end up lighting some of that off here in America. I guarantee you, folks, it's not a matter of if, but when a chemical weapons attack happens here in the United States. If the rebels are using them, and the rebels who are really kind of annoyed at the United States since we're not helping them, they're starting to line up with Al-Qaeda. Al-Qaeda gets chemical weapons, and all bets are off, folks. All this stuff in the subway in New York City, or walking around Chicago or Miami, just horrible. And we really are Dean Wormer in Animal House, right? So Assad really is on double secret probation. What are we going to do? Nothing, right? The president is on a bus tour talking about college education and Obamacare. Egypt's imploding, chemical weapons attack, innocent civilians dying in Syria. Those chemical weapons will end up here in the United States, killing our innocent civilians. It's always incredible to me, after something really bad happens, we use that really tired phrase of, well, we failed to connect the dots. When there's a chemical weapons attack here in the United States, I guarantee you those dots get all the way back to where they came from, which is Syria. So this, and I don't want to freak you out on this happy Monday here or Friday, but that's as a military officer and trained and to think like this, that's what we think, and that's what my buddies in the Pentagon and overseas on the tip of the spear are believing right now. They're just shaking their head like, oh. So, but the president has other priorities with a bus tour, and Ambassador Powers was on a personal trip the other day, apparently, where I think the spokesman said it wasn't easily accessible for travel. So as the UN National Security Council's meeting and trying to think maybe possibly about condemning chemical weapons used in Syria, she was on a trip somewhere. So she's a little too busy to worry about this stuff. So here we go. Who cares, right? Very interesting yesterday, is, like I said, with Mario Draghi, Bernanke, and Carney not at the Jackson Hole event. It's the lieutenants that are going to make the news. So Lockhart and Bullard, two Fed chiefs, St. Louis and Atlanta, kind of at odds over the taper, which it's funny because of course they would be. So again, the Fed showing what? Just intransigence. One guy thinking one thing, one guy thinking another, and we saw that in the FOMC minutes that were released on Wednesday, right? And there's the release of the FOMC minutes. As you can see, a spike in volatility here. And then the Steve Leisman, Jim Cramer love fest. See, everybody was wrong, followed by, no, actually, everybody was right. To believe this. So, and then the resulting sell-off in the market. Now we're catching a little bit of a bid today, up 13. Market just opened a little while ago. Nothing to write home about, folks. Again, we're in wallow market. We're going to wallow around until we really get closer to the Fed. And I think we're going to see a big uptick in volatility. We're getting new home sales here in a little bit. Might move the market, might not. Again, since we're getting close to the end of Bizarro market, good news might be good news, but bad news is going to be bad news once again. So as we drift out of Bizarro market, though, good news is, going to be bad news for the time being. If we get good new home sales numbers, I think the market pulls back. Well, Wiz, you just said we're getting out of Bizarro market. Yeah, but we're not there yet. We're in this transition zone where good news is going to bum the market out. We're wanting horrible news, so maybe that would delay the Fed's decision to taper or maybe throttle their taper. That's not going to happen. So really interesting times to be trading options, and I'm having an absolute blast. I'm ready for what I think is going to happen next month. As you can see on the VIX here, we saw this massive run-up in volatility. Look at that. From mid-May, essentially, to near the beginning of July, but obviously right around the Fed announcement in mid-June. Look at that. About a full month. An absolute just climb in volatility, and that was just on the Fed tapering. That wasn't on what we have in September as well, a budget fight and a debt ceiling. And I've already saw or heard that Boehner's folding his cheap suit, telling on a call yesterday, a lot of members like, hey, we're not going to use the debt ceiling as a defund Obamacare or try and get our fiscal house in order, which just cracks me up. So I don't know when this guy's going to choose a fight with this president. Pelosi might as well be in charge of the House the way Boehner is acting. So I think if we get some sort of debt ceiling deal or, the budget fight isn't as bad as expected, I don't know if we'll see this big of a pop in volatility just because we saw this big of a pop this time. And the market kind of saying, okay, everything's going to be fine. But we could get this big of a pop in volatility if the market thinks that, wow, this taper, they are going to start to taper and it's going to be painful. So we might actually see volatility stay elevated for a while. So a lot of good positions in our model portfolios, bullish double verticals on the VIX and also on SDS. Really good week in this is over Top Gun Options, the weekly options model portfolio. 2 trades with about $10,000 in max risk, $5,000 a trade on average, and we're up about $3,000 in 4.5 days. So there's a 28% return, 30% return. We've still got about $600 in time value on our Netflix Iron Condor. So potential gains of $3,500 in 1 week. That's a 35% return in our weekly options model portfolio. So really liking how we're looking this week. About a $3,000 gain from Monday through trading right now. Okay, so if you want to check out our weekly option service, you can go over to topgunoptions.com and type in /weekly-options, or you can go over to Top Gun Options and hover over the services drop down right here and go down to, second drop down there, weekly options. Take a 2-week test flight. Reminder, guys, weekly options are not for the faint of heart. They're afterburner trades. They, when they're working for you, they're great. When they're working against you, they can leave a mark. And that's also why you need to be disciplined and manage risk. And that's where you'll see that superior execution of about a $3,500 gain in 4 days on $10,000 of risk, on defined risk. Not unlimited risk, folks, defined risk. So scroll down, go ahead and click test flight, and you can take a 2-week test flight of our weekly options service. All right, guys, I'll be back next week as we continue Wallow market and as we look for this thing to find some direction. Okay, happy hunting. Make sure you hedge. Have a great weekend, and I'll see you for Monday's market outlook.